I never thought the smell of hospital grade disinfectant would become the scent of my entire 20s and 30s. But here's the thing about life. It doesn't ask permission before it completely rewrites your story. And before I tell you how I made my siblings face the truth they spent 10 years running from, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Because this story, it's about the kind of justice that doesn't happen in courtrooms. It happens when someone finally stops being silent. And if you've ever felt invisible while everyone else lived their life, you're going to want to see how this ends. Mom's stroke happened on a Tuesday. I remember because I was supposed to have a second date with this guy from work, James. We'd had coffee the week before, and he'd actually made me laugh, really laugh, for the first time in months. I was 28, finally feeling like my life was starting. You know, I'd just gotten promoted to senior graphic designer. I had my own apartment, things were good. Then my phone rang at 2 p.m. Maya, it's your mother, St. Vincent's Hospital. You need to come now. The nurse's voice was calm, professional. Mine wasn't. I found Mom in the ICU, half her face slack, her right side completely paralyzed. The doctor used words like massive and significant damage and long-term care. I sat there nodding, but I wasn't really hearing him. I was watching Mom's left hand, the one that still worked, gripping the bed rail like she was trying to hold onto something that was slipping away. My older brother, Derek, showed up 6 hours later, still in his business suit from some conference in Denver. He stood in the doorway, looked at Mom hooked up to all those machines, and his face just crumpled. Jesus, he whispered. We stood there together for maybe 10 minutes before he checked his phone. I have to fly back tomorrow, he said. Big presentation Thursday, but I'll come back this weekend, okay? I promise? That was the first promise. Nicole, my older sister, flew in from Seattle 2 days later. She cried beautifully, mascara running, the whole thing, and held Mom's good hand while telling her everything would be okay. She stayed 3 days, then had to get back to her marketing firm. I'll take a leave if we need to, she said, squeezing my shoulder. Just let me wrap up this campaign. 2 weeks tops. That was the second promise. Brandon, my younger brother, showed up with flowers and guilt. He was in grad school in Boston, 26 and still figuring life out. He sat with Mom for hours, talking to her even though she couldn't really respond yet. And I thought, maybe he'll be the one. Maybe he'll actually help. I can take a semester off, he said when we grabbed coffee in the hospital cafeteria. If you need me to. Would you? I asked. He nodded. Family comes first, right? That was the third promise. Here's what actually happened. Derek came back that weekend, then the next one, then every other weekend, then once a month, then every few months. Nicole's 2 weeks turned into 2 months, then she started coming for holidays. Brandon finished that semester, then the next one, then graduated, then got a job in New York, and suddenly he was too busy with entry-level grind to visit more than twice a year. And me, I became the one who stayed. The hospital social worker, Linda, with her kind eyes and her clipboard, sat me down after 2 weeks. Your mother needs long-term care, she said. Her insurance will cover a nursing facility, but the good ones have waiting lists. 6 months, maybe more. You could hire in home care, but that's expensive. What's your support system look like? I thought about Derek's empty promises, Nicole's tears, Brandon's good intentions. It's just me, I said. Linda nodded like she'd heard this before. It usually is. I moved Mom into my apartment because it was bigger than her place, and I converted my home office into a bedroom. I hired a part-time nurse's aide, Maria, for weekday mornings so I could keep working. But that only lasted 4 months before I had to quit. Mom needed more care than 8 hours a week could provide. My boss, Sarah, tried to be understanding. We can do part-time, she offered. Work from home. But you can't design marketing campaigns while changing adult diapers. You can't take client calls while feeding someone through a straw. You can't make deadlines when you're up every 2 hours checking if your mother is still breathing. I lasted 6 weeks on part-time before I resigned. Derek sent money every month. $2,000 like clockwork. Nicole sent $1,500. Brandon sent $500 when he could. It covered Maria's aid services and some of Mom's medications, but it didn't cover the rest. The special mattress to prevent bed sores. The physical therapy equipment. The supplements insurance wouldn't cover. The adult diapers, the wipes, the gloves, the endless medical supplies. It definitely didn't cover the fact that I had no income. I burned through my savings in 8 months. Year 2, I started freelancing when I could. Late nights after Mom was asleep, early mornings before she woke up. I made enough to keep my head above water barely. Derek got promoted to VP. He sent an extra $500 that month and a photo of his new office with a view of the Denver skyline. Nicole started her own consulting firm. Her Christmas card that year showed her on a beach in Bali, glowing and free. Brandon bought his first apartment in Brooklyn. He posted photos of the housewarming party, 30 people, catered food, craft, cocktails. And I learned how to transfer a paralyzed person from bed to wheelchair without throwing out my back. Year 3, Mom started to improve a little. She could say a few words, mostly yes, no, and my name. Her left side got stronger. She could grip things, could feed herself soft foods if I put the spoon in her left hand. The physical therapist said it was remarkable progress. You're doing everything right, she told me. A lot of stroke patients don't do this well. It's because she has consistent, dedicated care. I called Derek that night, exhausted and hopeful. That's amazing, Maya, he said. You're a saint. Hey, I'm in Tokyo for work right now. Can I call you back this weekend? He didn't call back. I texted Nicole. Mom said my name today. Clear as day. First time in 3 years. She replied 6 hours later, OMG tears. You're incredible, sis. Send video next time. I never sent a video. She never asked again. Brandon came to visit that Thanksgiving. He stayed 2 days, spent most of it on his laptop finishing a work project, and left the morning after Turkey Day. Work's insane, he said, hugging me goodbye. But I'll try to come more. I mean, at this time. Year 4, Mom had another stroke. Smaller this one, but it erased most of the progress. We were back to square one, except now she was weaker, more fragile. I was 32 years old, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd been on a date or seen a movie in a theater or had coffee with a friend. My friends stopped calling after the first year. I don't blame them. I always had to cancel plans, always had to leave early, always smelled faintly of antiseptic and exhaustion. Year 5, I started recording everything. Not because I planned revenge. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I was just so tired of being invisible that I needed proof I existed. Proof that this was real. So I started keeping a journal. Photos of the aid schedule I maintained, copies of medical bills, screenshots of my siblings, social media posts showing their vacations and promotions and normal lives. And then Mom asked me to set up the iPad camera. It was a Tuesday morning, right after Maria left. Mom was having a good day, alert, focused. She used her left hand to point at the iPad on her bedside table, then pointed at herself. Record, she said. It was slightly slurred but clear enough. You want me to record you? I asked. She nodded. I set it up, pressed record, and stepped back. Mom looked directly at the camera. Her face was tired, lopsided, but her eyes were sharp. Derek, she said slowly. Nicole, Brandon. She paused, gathering strength. Maya is the only one who stayed. Then she looked at me and nodded. That was enough for today. I saved the video in a folder on my laptop. I didn't know what it meant then. But Mom knew. She'd already figured out exactly what she was doing. Over the next 5 years, she recorded 23 more videos. Short ones, a few minutes each, always on her good days. She'd tell me what to write down, which documents to copy, which bank statements to save. She was building a case piece by piece, and I was the only witness. My siblings kept living their lives. Derek made senior VP, got divorced, started dating a woman 20 years younger. Nicole's consulting firm went national. She bought a house in Portland with a view of Mount Hood. Brandon switched jobs 3 times, each one more prestigious than the last. They visited less and less. Derek every 6 months. Nicole twice a year, always around holidays. Brandon maybe once a year, guilty and apologetic every time. But they always sent money. Like that made up for everything. Year 9, Mom got pneumonia. We almost lost her. I spent 72 hours in the hospital, sleeping in a chair next to her bed. The doctor said it was touch and go, asked if there were any other family members who should be notified. I called Derek. It went to voicemail. I called Nicole. She was in a meeting. I texted Brandon. He replied, "Oh God, calling in 20 min." He called 3 hours later. Mom had already stabilized by then. "Thank God," he said. "Do you need me to come?" "She's okay now," I said. "Okay, But I can come if you need me. Just say the word. I didn't say the word. What was the point? Mom recovered slowly. It took 3 months before she was stable enough to come home. By then, I was 37 years old and completely numb to the weight of it all. Year 10 started quietly. Mom's health plateaued, not getting worse, but not getting better. She was stable, comfortable, and on a good day, almost happy. We'd watch old movies together. She'd grip my hand with her good one during the sad parts. Then one morning in March, she didn't wake up. It was peaceful. Maria found her when she arrived at 8 a.m. Mom had passed in her sleep, no pain, no struggle, the way everyone hopes to go. I sat next to her bed for 2 hours before I called anyone. I held her hand, still warm, and I cried, but mostly I felt this strange, guilty sense of relief. It was over. I called Derek first. I'll be there tomorrow, he said, voice thick. Oh God, Maya. I'm so sorry. Nicole sobbed on the phone. I'm booking a flight right now. I should have been there more. I should have. Brandon was quiet for a long moment. I'll drive down tonight, he said finally. I loved her so much. They all came. They all cried. They all told stories at the funeral about what a wonderful mother she was, how much they'd miss her. And then the lawyer called us in for the will reading. That's when everything changed. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and old money. Robert Chen had been Mom's attorney for 30 years, and he looked every bit the part, gray suit, kind eyes, the type of guy who'd seen every family drama play out across his mahogany desk. We sat in a row. Derek on one end, then Nicole, then Brandon, then me. Like we were posing for a photo no one wanted to take. First, let me say how sorry I am for your loss, Robert began. Your mother was a remarkable woman. Derek nodded solemnly. Nicole dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Brandon stared at his hands. I just waited. Now, Margaret's will is straightforward. Robert continued, opening the folder in front of him. She's left her estate to be divided equally among her 4 children. I saw Derek relax slightly. Nicole let out a small breath. Equal meant fair, right? Equal meant no drama. The estate includes her home, which was sold 2 years ago, her savings and investment accounts, and a life insurance policy. After final expenses and debts are settled, everything remaining will be split 4 ways. What's the total? Derek asked. Always straight to business. Robert glanced at his papers. After all debts, expenses, and final arrangements are paid, the remaining estate totals approximately $8,000. The silence in that room was deafening. I'm sorry, what? Nicole leaned forward. 8,000. Mom's house sold for $370,000. Where's the rest? Robert's expression didn't change. As I mentioned, after debts and expenses. What debts? Derek's voice was sharp now. Mom had Medicare. The house was paid off. What the hell expenses are you talking about? Robert pulled out a spreadsheet. Mrs. Peterson had significant ongoing medical costs over the past 10 years. Equipment, medications not covered by insurance, private care services, home modifications for accessibility. That doesn't add up to $300,000. Nicole interrupted. No. Robert agreed. The majority of the liquidated assets were distributed over the past 10 years according to Mrs. Peterson's instructions. Brandon finally spoke up. Distributed where? Robert looked directly at me. To Maya. For caregiving services rendered. You could have heard a pin drop. Excuse me. Derek stood up. Are you saying Maya took all of Mom's money? I'm saying your mother compensated Maya for 10 years of full-time care. It was her decision, made of sound mind, and fully documented. Nicole turned to me, her face pale. You took Mom's money, while we were sending you cash every month. I didn't take anything? I said quietly. Mom gave it to me? That's the same thing. Nicole's voice was rising. We were helping support you, and you were just bleeding her dry. I wasn't bleeding anyone. Derek cut me off. How much, Maya? How much did you take? I looked at Robert. He nodded. $342,000, I said, over 10 years. Brandon's mouth fell open. That's $34,000 a year, which is less than minimum wage for full-time care, I said. Professional home care costs between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. I gave Mom a discount and sacrificed my entire career to do it. Oh, that's rich! Nicole laughed, but there was no humor in it. You sacrificed. We were all sacrificing Maya. We all lost our mother. You lost her for weekends and holidays, I said, and my voice was steady even though my hands were shaking. I lost 10 years of my life. Derek's face was red now. So you thought you'd just help yourself to her money? Did you even tell us this was happening? Mom made the decision. She transferred money to me quarterly. It was her choice. Because you manipulated her. Nicole was standing now too. She was vulnerable, she couldn't even speak properly, and you took advantage. That's enough. Robert interrupted. Mrs. Peterson was evaluated by her physician every year. She was deemed mentally competent to make financial decisions. These transfers were legal and documented. Then show us the documentation. Derek demanded. I want to see every single transfer, every single receipt, every single. You'll get copies of everything, Robert said calmly. It's all here. Every withdrawal, every payment to Maya, every medical expense. Your mother was meticulous? I bet she was, Nicole said, looking at me like I was a stranger. Or maybe Maya was just meticulous about covering her tracks. I stood up. You want to know where the money went? Fine. It went to Maria, the aide who came 5 days a week so Mom wasn't alone while I tried to freelance enough to pay my rent. It went to the special mattress that prevented bed sores. It went to the physical therapy equipment insurance wouldn't cover. It went to adult diapers and medications and supplements and equipment and 1,000 other things that kept Mom alive and comfortable for 10 years. While you lived rent-free in her apartment, Derek shot back. It was my apartment. I moved her into my place because it was bigger. I paid rent there for 10 years. Convenient. Nicole muttered. Brandon hadn't said anything else. He was just staring at the table, his jaw tight. Robert cleared his throat. There's one more thing, Mrs. Peterson left specific instructions for Maya to receive upon the reading of the will. He handed me a sealed envelope with my name on it in Mom's shaky handwriting. Derek laughed bitterly. Of course she did. What is it? The title to a car we didn't know about. I opened the envelope. Inside was a flash drive and a note in Mom's handwriting. Show them when they don't believe you. I love you. You were enough. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. Not in front of them. What is it? Nicole asked. I looked at her, then at Derek, then at Brandon. It's Mom's video diaries. 24 of them. Recorded over the last 5 years. Video diaries. Derek frowned. What are you talking about? Mom wanted to record messages, thoughts, memories. I helped her set up the iPad. And you just happened to have these videos that conveniently support your story. Nicole crossed her arms. They're not my story. They're her story. You want to see them? The three of them exchanged glances. Yeah, Derek said finally. I want to see them. Robert had a laptop in his office. I plugged in the flash drive and opened the first video, dated 5 years earlier. Mom's face filled the screen, lopsided but determined. The video quality wasn't great. Just iPad camera, natural lighting from her bedroom window, but you could see her clearly, you could see. The effort it took her to speak. This is for my children, she said slowly. I want you to understand. She paused, gathering strength. Maya has been my only caregiver for 5 years now. Derek comes every few months. Nicole twice a year. Brandon, once if I'm lucky. On the couch, Brandon flinched. Mom continued. They send money. They think that's enough. But money doesn't change bedpans. Money doesn't hold my hand at 3 a.m. when I'm scared. Nicole's tissue was pressed to her mouth. Maya gave up. Everything. Her job, her friends, her life. She is here every single day. She doesn't complain. She doesn't ask for help anymore because she knows no one is coming. Derek's face had gone pale. So I am paying her. Not because she asked, because it's right. Because she deserves something for giving me everything. The video ended. There are 23 more, I said quietly. Each one is dated and shows her mental state was fine. She talks about each of your visits, or lack of them. She talks about the promises you made and broke. She talks about how Maya was the only one who stayed. Maya? Brandon started. The second video is from Thanksgiving, year 6. I continued. The one where you stayed for 2 days and spent the whole time working, Brandon. Mom talks about how disappointed she was. How she'd been looking forward to your visit for months. Brandon looked like he'd been punched. Video 8 is after Derek's divorce, I said, looking at my older brother. You called to tell Mom about it, remember? You talked for 10 minutes about your problems, then said you had to go. You didn't ask how she was doing. You didn't ask if she needed anything. She cried after you hung up. Derek's eyes were wet. Video 15 is from Christmas 3 years ago, I said to Nicole. You sent an expensive gift basket from some fancy company. Chocolate and wine and cheese. Mom couldn't eat any of it because of her dietary restrictions. She talks about how it felt like you didn't even know her anymore. Nicole's hands were shaking. I don't need to show you all of them, I said. But they're all like this. Mom documenting every broken promise, every missed visit, every time you chose your own lives over being here. But not because she was angry, but because she wanted you to understand why she made the financial decisions she made. The room was silent except for Nicole's quiet crying. I didn't know, Brandon said finally, his voice broken. I didn't know it was that bad. You didn't want to know, I said. None of you did? Because knowing would have meant actually doing something about it? Derek sat back down heavily. We sent money. We thought. You thought money was the same as showing up. It's not. So what now? Nicole asked, wiping her eyes. You get everything and we get nothing. I get $2,000 after 10 years of giving up my entire life, I said. You get the same. Mom made sure it was equal in the end. We all get exactly the same amount from her estate. That's not fair, Derek said, but his voice had no strength behind it. No, I agreed. It's not. Fair would have been all four of us sharing the responsibility. Fair would have been you actually showing up. Fair would have been me not having to sacrifice everything while you built your careers and traveled the world and lived your lives. Robert cleared his throat. If there are no other questions about the will, we can schedule a time to distribute the final funds. I have a question, Brandon said quietly. Can I get copies of those videos? I looked at him. His eyes were red, his face full of regret that came 10 years too late. They're on the flash drive, I said. You can all have copies. Mom made them for all of us. We left the office separately. Derek walked out first without a word. Nicole followed, still crying. Brandon hesitated at the door. Maya, I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't give me back 10 years. He nodded and left. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I could drive. My phone buzzed with texts. Derek, we need to talk about this. This isn't over. Nicole, I can't believe you would do this to us. To Mom's memory. Brandon, I watched 3 more videos. You were right about everything. I'm so sorry. I turned my phone off and drove home to my empty apartment. The one that still smelled faintly of hospital supplies, even though all of Mom's equipment was gone. That night, I got an email from Derek's lawyer. He was contesting the will, claiming Mom was mentally incompetent, claiming I had manipulated her, claiming undue influence. I forwarded it to Robert Chen with a simple message: they want to fight. Let's show them the rest. Because what my siblings didn't know was that there were more than 24 videos. There were 67. And Mom had saved the best ones for last. Derek's lawyer was a shark named Patricia Weber. Expensive suit, colder smile, the kind of attorney who could make "good morning" sound like a threat. We met in a conference room 2 weeks after the will reading. Derek, Nicole, and Brandon sat on one side of the table with Patricia. I sat on the other side with Robert Chen. Let's cut to the chase, Patricia said, sliding a document across the table. My clients believe your mother was subjected to undue influence during a period of mental and physical vulnerability. They're prepared to file a formal contest unless we can reach a settlement. What kind of settlement? Robert asked calmly. The $342,000 returned in full, plus interest. In exchange, they'll drop the contest and we can all move forward. I looked at Derek. He wouldn't meet my eyes. No, I said simply. Patricia smiled. Ms. Peterson, I don't think you understand the position you're in. We have grounds for a very compelling case. The courts take financial exploitation of vulnerable elderly people very seriously. So do I said. That's why I documented everything. Yes, the videos? Patricia waved her hand dismissively. We've reviewed them. They show a woman with significant speech impairment and cognitive decline being coached. She wasn't coached. Recorded by the sole beneficiary of hundreds of thousands of dollars in transfers. The optics aren't good, Ms. Peterson. Robert opened his briefcase. Before we go further, there's additional evidence my client would like to present. He pulled out a thick binder and slid it across the table. This contains 10 years of documentation. Medical records showing Mrs. Peterson's cognitive function remained stable. physician statements attesting to her mental competency, receipts for every expense Maya incurred caring for her mother, logs of every visit from each sibling, or lack thereof, screenshots of text messages and emails showing repeated promises to help that were never kept. Patricia flipped through the binder, her expression unchanged. But I saw Derek shift uncomfortably. We also have the additional video recordings, Robert continued. 67 in total, not 24. Mrs. Peterson was quite thorough. That got Nicole's attention. 67? Your mother recorded regularly over 5 years? I said. The 24 I showed you were the general ones. The ones where she explained her reasoning, talked about her wishes, documented her mental state. And the others? Brandon asked quietly. The others are more specific, I said. Mom dated each one and addressed them to each of you individually. She wanted to make sure you understood exactly how she felt about your choices. I pulled out my laptop and opened a video file. This one is from 2 years ago. It's addressed to you, Derek. I turned the screen so they could see. Mom's face appeared, and this time she looked directly at the camera with more strength in her voice than the early videos. Derek? She said. You missed my birthday again. You texted, "Happy birthday, Mom. Love you." 3 words. That was it. On the video, Mom's good hand trembled slightly. You promised you'd come. Maya made my favorite, pot roast. She bought a cake. We waited until 8 p.m. Then we ate, just the 2 of us. Maya sang happy birthday. She was the only one who showed up. She paused, took a breath. You sent flowers the next week. Expensive ones. With a card that said, "Sorry I couldn't be there." But you could have been. Maya checked. You posted on Facebook about a golf tournament that day. My birthday. You played golf. Derek's face had gone ashen. Mom continued. I don't need expensive flowers. I needed my son, but Maya was there like always. So the money I'm giving her, it's not theft. It's payment for being the child you promised you'd be. The video ended. The room was silent. I have one for each of you, I said, looking at Nicole, then Brandon. Should I play them? No, Nicole whispered. Patricia cleared her throat, but her voice had lost some of its edge. Regardless of these videos, the financial transfers still what? I interrupted. Still look suspicious. Because here's what actually happened. Mom called her bank. On her own. I have the phone records. She set up quarterly transfers to my account. She signed the authorization forms herself. There are bank security videos of that, too. She was evaluated by her doctor every year and deemed mentally competent every single year. I pulled out another folder. And here's what that money actually paid for. Not luxuries. Not vacations. Not a new car or fancy clothes. Medical equipment, $15,000 over 10 years. Maria's aid services, $82,000. Special dietary supplements insurance wouldn't cover, $11,000. Home modifications, grab bars, wheelchair ramp, specialized shower equipment, $18,000. Medications and supplies, $34,000. The rest? That was my payment for being a full-time caregiver. $34,000 a year for 80-hour weeks. That's about $8 an hour. I looked at Derek. You made, what, $200,000 a year as VP? And you're mad that I made $8 an hour taking care of our mother. His jaw was tight, but he didn't answer. Nicole, your consulting firm bills clients $300 an hour for your time. Brandon, your starting salary out of grad school was $75,000. But somehow, me making poverty wages to provide round-the-clock care to our mother is exploitation. Patricia was looking through the financial documents, her expression unreadable. There's one more video, Robert said quietly. It's the last one Mrs. Peterson recorded, 2 weeks before she passed. Maya, would you like to play it? I nodded and opened the file. My hands were shaking. Mom appeared on screen, looking more tired than I'd ever seen her, but her eyes were clear and focused. This is my final recording, she said slowly. I'm making it because I know what will happen. I know my children, the 3, who left. They will be angry. They will blame Maya. They will say, she manipulated me, took advantage. She shook her head slightly. They're wrong. Maya gave me dignity. She gave me 10 years of life. Instead of a nursing home, she bathed me. Held my hand when I was scared. She gave up everything, her career, her relationships, her youth, for me. Mom's voice grew stronger, more clear than I'd heard it in years. Derek, Brandon, I love you. But you abandoned me. Not all at once. Slowly, visit by visit, call by call, promise by promise. You sent money and thought that was enough. It wasn't. She looked directly at the camera. So here's what I want you to understand. The money I gave Maya, that was her inheritance. She earned it. Every single dollar. The rest of you get equal shares of what's left, because that's fair. You all get exactly what you gave me in the end. Almost nothing. Mom's face softened. I'm not angry, just sad, because I loved you all the same. But only one of you loved me enough to stay. Maya, if you're watching this, thank you. You were more than enough. You were everything. The video ended with Mom's hand reaching toward the camera, then the screen went black. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Brandon was crying silently, his shoulders shaking. Nicole had her face in her hands. Derek was staring at the table, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching. Patricia closed the binder carefully. I need to speak with my clients privately. Robert and I stepped outside. We stood in the hallway for 20 minutes before they called us back in. Derek couldn't look at me. Nicole's eyes were red and swollen. Brandon just looked broken. We're dropping the contest, Patricia said quietly. My clients would like to apologize. Maya, Derek started, his voice rough. I said. I don't need your apology. It's 10 years too late. We didn't know it was that bad, Nicole said. We thought you had help. We thought. You thought wrong because you didn't bother to really ask. You assumed. And assuming was easier than actually being there. Brandon spoke up, his voice shaky. Is there any way? Can we make this right? Somehow. I looked at my little brother, at the guilt eating him alive, and I felt tired. Just so incredibly tired. You can't make it right, I said. It's done. Mom's gone. Those 10 years are gone. I'm 38 years old with a gap in my resume I can't explain, no savings, no career, and I'm starting from scratch. You can't fix that? The money. Derek started. I'm keeping the money, I said firmly. Mom wanted me to have it. She made that choice with a clear mind and a full understanding of what she was doing. That doesn't change just because you feel guilty now. We understand, Patricia said. My clients will sign the necessary documents to withdraw their contest. I stood up. Robert, can you handle the rest? Of course. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Brandon stood up. Maya, wait. Can we at least talk later? I know I can't fix anything, but I want to try to understand. To do better, even if it's too late. I looked at him, at the genuine remorse in his eyes, at the brother who'd at least had the decency to watch Mom's videos and face what he'd done. Maybe, I said. Eventually. But not now. I need time. He nodded. Okay, I'll wait. I walked out of that conference room and didn't look back. 6 months later, I was sitting in a Starbucks working on my laptop when someone slid into the seat across from me. Brandon, I texted, he said. You didn't respond. So I took a chance that you'd be here. You always liked this place. That was 15 years ago, I said. How did you know I'd be here? I didn't. I've been checking every Saturday for a month. He looked nervous. I know you said you needed time. It's been 6 months. Is that enough time to maybe grab coffee? I looked at him. Really looked. He'd lost weight. He had dark circles under his eyes. He looked like someone who hadn't been sleeping well. Why, I asked. Because you're my sister. Because I screwed up worse than I've ever screwed up anything in my life. Because I watched all 67 videos and Mom was right about everything. And I can't live with myself if I don't at least try. Try what? To be the brother I should have been. I was quiet for a moment. You can't go back? I know, but maybe I can go forward differently. He hesitated. I quit my job. The one in New York. That surprised me. What? Why? Because I realized I'd spent 10 years chasing a career I didn't even care about while ignoring the people who actually mattered. So I quit. I'm moving back here. I got a job that pays less but gives me actual time for life. He paused. I'm in therapy, trying to figure out why I'm so good at running away from things that are hard. Brandon, I'm not asking you to forgive me, he said quickly. I'm not even asking you to like me right now. I want you to know I heard what Mom said. I heard what you said. And I'm trying. I closed my laptop. Derek and Nicole? Haven't talked to them much. Derek's angry, mostly at himself, I think, but he's taking it out on everyone else. Nicole keeps calling and crying and apologizing, But she hasn't actually changed anything. She's still in Portland, still running her company, still living her life. He shrugged. I don't know if they'll ever really get it. And you do. I'm starting to. He looked at me earnestly. I know I can't fix the past. But you're 38, not 98. You've got a whole life ahead of you. And I'd like to be in it, if you'll let me, as your actual brother this time. Not just the guy who sends money and shows up once a year. I studied his face, looking for the lie, the angle, the escape route he was already planning. But all I saw was someone genuinely trying. I'm working on building a new career, I said finally. Freelance design. It's slow going. Can I help? I'm decent with marketing if you need someone to help get clients. I don't need charity. It's not charity. It's what family does. Real family. The kind that shows up. We sat there in silence for a moment. Coffee, I said. Just coffee. Once a week. We'll see how it goes. His face broke into a relieved smile. Yeah, okay. Coffee. I can do coffee. And Brandon, I said as he stood up to go order. If you flake out, if you disappear, if you make promises you don't keep, we're done. For good. I don't have any more chances left to give. I understand, he said seriously. I won't flake, I promise. You've promised before, I know. Which is why this time, I'm going to actually do it. He went to order and I watched him stand in line, just another guy in a coffee shop. My little brother, the one who'd finally figured out what mattered about 10 years too late. But maybe late was better than never. My phone buzzed. An email from a potential client who'd seen my portfolio online. A real job, not a tiny freelance gig. Something that could actually lead somewhere. I opened my laptop and started typing a response. Behind me, Brandon returned with 2 coffees and sat down quietly, waiting to see if I'd tell him to leave. I didn't. We sat there in that Starbucks. 2 people trying to figure out what family looked like when you had to build it from scratch after it had fallen apart. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close to fair. But it was something. And after 10 years of nothing, something felt like enough. Mom's video diaries were on a flash drive in my desk drawer at home. Sometimes I watched them when I missed her. When I needed to hear her voice telling me I'd been enough. That what I'd done mattered. She'd been right about everything. About my siblings. About the money. About the fact that one person showing up was worth more than 3 people sending checks. And in the end, she'd given me exactly what I'd given her, everything that truly mattered. Not money, not an inheritance, but proof that I'd been seen. That my sacrifice had been witnessed and valued. That I hadn't been invisible after all. That was worth more than any amount in a bank account. That was justice. If this story hit home, if you've ever felt invisible while everyone else lived their life, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in Maya's shoes. And don't forget to subscribe, because I've got more stories about people who finally stopped being silent and started getting the justice they deserved. Real stories, real revenge, the kind that actually matters. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.